The sun shone warmly over the Thompson family's quiet suburban neighborhood in Texas, casting a golden glow across the freshly mowed lawns and flower beds bursting with color. It was a day unlike any other for the Thompsons. Their daughter, Lily, was turning 10, and the entire family had spent weeks preparing for the big celebration. The backyard was a riot of color and excitement. Streamers fluttered from the fence posts, balloons bobbed gently in the light breeze, and a large bounce house stood proudly at one corner of the yard. Tables groaned under the weight of party snacks and drinks, while the centerpiece was an enormous cake decorated with Lily's favorite cartoon characters. Kids from all over the neighborhood were already arriving, their laughter and shouts filling the air with a joyful buzz. Inside the house, Lily's mother, Sarah, arranged the last of the decorations while keeping a close eye on the growing crowd outside. Her husband, Tom, moved between setting up games and making sure the sound system was ready for the playlist Lily had painstakingly curated. It was the kind of party that every kid dreams of, filled with friends, fun, and an air of magic only a birthday could bring. As the guests settled into the backyard, a car pulled quietly into the driveway. Officer Ray Navarro stepped out, his dark uniform crisp and neat. In his arms was Max, a striking German shepherd with keen, intelligent eyes and a coat that gleamed in the afternoon sun. Max wasn't just any dog. He was Ray's partner, trained for years to detect explosives and keep people safe. Today, however, Max was meant to be just a friendly face, a surprise guest for Lily. Ray had promised to bring Max along for some photos and to let the kids pet the dog, hoping it would add an extra spark to the festivities. He smiled as he watched Lily's eyes light up the moment she spotted Max. The dog's tail wagged enthusiastically as he approached, greeting the children with gentle sniffs and a happy demeanor. At first, the party was everything one could hope. 4 children chased each other around the yard, squealing as they bounced in the inflatable castle. Laughter mingled with music, and the scent of cake filled the air. Ray relaxed, leaning against the fence, enjoying the simple pleasure of seeing Max bring joy to the kids. But then something shifted. Max's ears perked up suddenly, his entire body stiffening. He paused mid-sniff and lowered his nose closer to the ground near the fence line. Ray's eyes narrowed as he followed Max's gaze toward a cluster of unopened gifts piled just beyond the bounce house. One box, in particular, caught Max's attention. A large rectangular package wrapped in bright paper, but oddly placed apart from the rest. Max's tail stopped wagging. Instead, he began to circle the gift cautiously, nose twitching as he inhaled deeply. His eyes locked onto the package, and a low growl almost escaped his throat, though Ray quickly hushed him with a firm hand on his neck. Ray's heart tightened. This was no ordinary sniff. Max's training kicked in like a sharp blade slicing through calm. Something was wrong, and Max was trying to tell him. His mind raced, considering the possibilities. Could it be a stray animal trapped inside? Or worse, a dangerous object hidden among the birthday presents? The music played on, oblivious to the sudden tension threading through the crowd. Children ran past, squealing with excitement as they searched for party favors, unaware that the friendly dog had just uncovered a threat no one else could see. Ray quietly spoke into his radio, calling for backup without alarming anyone. His voice was low but urgent. Possible suspicious package requesting immediate assistance. Keep party moving as normal. Sarah, sensing something was off, glanced toward Ray and Max. Though her eyes showed concern, she kept calm, gently, herding the kids away from the area. Tom joined her, exchanging a worried look with Ray. They all understood the unspoken truth. Max's instincts rarely, if ever, missed. The party had been perfect up until now. But beneath the balloons and birthday cheers, a hidden danger lurked, one that only a remarkable dog and his handler could detect. What happened next would not only change this birthday forever, but would send ripples across the nation, turning a simple celebration into a headline no one could ignore. The birthday party continued, the music flowing through the air as kids darted between games and laughter echoed off the nearby trees. Yet beneath the surface of this carefree celebration, a quiet tension began to take hold, one that only Officer Ray Navarro and his canine partner Max could sense. Max, who had moments, Fargo been the picture of joy, now moved with a different purpose. His playful demeanor was replaced by an intense focus. As he paced near the edge of the yard, his nose hovered low to the ground, sniffing methodically around the brightly wrapped gifts. His tail was no longer wagging. Instead, it was stiff, twitching with alertness. Ray kept a close eye on Max, knowing that the dog's instincts were sharp and well-honed. The German Shepherd wasn't just any dog. He had been trained for years to detect explosives, drugs, and other threats that most people couldn't even imagine. When Max's body tensed like this, Ray knew it was time to take things seriously. Max suddenly stopped in front of the largest present, a big box wrapped in vibrant blue paper, placed awkwardly beside the fence. The dog's nose twitched furiously as he inhaled deeply. His eyes narrowed with concentration. Without warning, Max let out a low, cautious bark and pawed at the package. The children nearby paused their games and turned toward the noise, curious but still unaware of what was truly unfolding. Ray stepped forward, his face serious as he knelt beside Max. He examined the box carefully from a safe distance, noting how it looked out of place. No card, no indication of who it was from. The wrapping paper was neat, but the tape was uneven, as if it had been hastily applied. "Max has picked up something," Ray said quietly into his radio, his voice calm but urgent. "We need the bomb squad here immediately." Back inside the house, Sarah Thompson was gathering the younger children for a new activity when she noticed Ray's tense expression. "Is everything okay?" she asked, her voice steady but with an edge of concern. Ray gave a subtle nod. "I think Max found something suspicious. Just keep everyone calm and inside for now." Sarah nodded, her mother's instinct kicking in. She quickly gathered the children in the living room, dimming the lights and turning on a movie to keep them occupied and distracted. Outside, Ray guided Max away from the gift, signaling the approaching officers who were now discreetly arriving. Neighbors who had been enjoying the sunny afternoon watched from their windows, puzzled by the sudden appearance of uniformed officers and the quiet, serious energy that now filled the street. Some whispered to each other, trying to make sense of the disruption, but none of the party guests had any idea that their joyful celebration was hanging by a thread. Ray's radio crackled to life again. "Bomb squad en route. Hold perimeter and keep civilians clear." Minutes felt like hours as the bomb disposal team approached, dressed in protective gear and carrying high-tech equipment. They worked efficiently, placing barriers and clearing the immediate area. The party guests were moved inside, kept calm by the adults' reassurances and the distraction of the movie. Max sat quietly beside Ray, still alert, but calm now that professionals had taken over. The dog's gaze remained fixed on the suspicious package, as if warning everyone not to underestimate the danger it posed. Inside the house, Lily's laughter and chatter had turned into whispers and nervous glances. The children didn't fully understand why the party had suddenly shifted, but they sensed something was wrong. Sarah hugged Lily tightly, whispering soothing words as her daughter's eyes searched the window for any sign of what was happening. Outside, Ray remained focused, speaking softly to Max. "Good boy, Max, you did great. We'll get this sorted out." Outside, the bomb squad carefully began their examination of the package. Using remote-controlled robots and scanners, they revealed the grim truth. Hidden within the innocent wrapping was a crude explosive device, cleverly concealed and rigged to detonate if moved improperly. The realization sent a chill through the officers and nearby neighbors alike. This was no accident. Someone had planned to cause harm right here in a quiet neighborhood during a child's birthday party. As the bomb squad worked to safely disarm the device, news crews began arriving, drawn by the police activity and curious onlookers. The quiet birthday gathering was about to become a story that would capture the nation's attention. Meanwhile, Max lay calmly beside Ray, his job done, but his vigilance never waning. The dog had sniffed out a hidden threat, and in doing so, saved countless lives, starting with one little girl's perfect birthday. The children inside the Thompson home huddled together in the living room, eyes wide and voices hushed, as Sarah tried to keep the mood light. She pulled Lily close, wrapping an arm around her trembling daughter, while the faint sound of police Radios and murmured conversations floated in from outside. The birthday cake, once the centerpiece of joy, sat untouched on the kitchen counter, a silent reminder of the celebration put on hold. Outside, Officer Ray Navarro moved with purpose, coordinating with the arriving teams while keeping Max close. Despite the serious situation, Ray kept a calm exterior. He knew panic was the enemy, especially with so many young kids nearby. His voice was low but steady over the radio as he spoke to dispatch and the bomb squad. Every second counted. To keep the children distracted and safe, Ray quickly proposed a plan. "Let's make this a scavenger hunt," he told Sarah and Tom when they came outside briefly, their faces pale but resolute. "It'll keep the kids occupied indoors and away from the area." Sarah nodded, grateful for the distraction. "I'll organize it right now." With practiced efficiency, she gathered small toys and treats from the party supplies and hid them around the house. Soon laughter and excited whispers filled the rooms once more, the children racing from one hiding spot to another, momentarily reclaiming their birthday magic. Meanwhile, the bomb squad carefully set up a perimeter, blocking off the backyard and parts of the street. Officers in tactical gear checked every inch of the yard, eyes sharp for any additional threats. The neighborhood, usually peaceful, now hummed with controlled urgency. Ray stood near Max, watching his partner's every move. Max sat obediently, alert but composed, as if sensing the gravity of the moment. Ray's mind replayed the dog's reaction, how the keen nose had detected danger where no one else had even suspected it. "This dog saved lives today," Ray muttered under his breath, pride mixed with concern. Inside the house, the mood was a strange blend of normal and surreal. The children tried their best to focus on the scavenger hunt, but every so often, a window's shadow or a sudden noise made them pause and glance toward the outside world. Lily, usually full of energy, clung tightly to her mother's side. Her birthday now forever marked by the strange tension in the air. Sarah glanced out the window and saw neighbors gathering quietly on their porches, watching the police activity with anxious eyes. News vans had begun to arrive, crews setting up cameras and microphones just down the block. What had started as a simple birthday party was quickly becoming something much bigger. As the bomb squad prepared to approach the suspicious package, Ray called the Thompson family together in the living room for a quick briefing. "We're going to get this handled, but we need to keep calm and stay inside for a little while longer. Everyone's safe and Max's alertness helped us stop something very dangerous." Tom squeezed Sarah's hand, his voice steady but tinged with disbelief. "I never imagined something like this could happen here, at Lily's party of all places." Ray nodded solemnly. "That's what makes this so important. Terrorism or violence can strike anywhere, even in the most ordinary moments. But vigilance and quick action make all the difference." Outside, the bomb technicians deployed a small robot to examine the package. The device crawled carefully over the grass, its cameras sending back live video to the team. The tension was palpable as every officer held their breath, waiting for confirmation of what lay inside. The robot's feed revealed the chilling truth, a crudely constructed explosive device packed with wires and a trigger mechanism. The threat was real, deliberate and deadly. Ray's heart pounded. This was no accident or prank. Someone had targeted a child's birthday party to send a message, or worse. Yet, amidst the tension and danger, there was a spark of hope. Max had sniffed out the danger before it could explode. The quick thinking of the police and the cooperation of the family had averted tragedy. The neighborhood held its breath, the calm before the storm hanging thick in the air as the bomb squad prepared to disarm the device. Time seemed to slow, every second filled with weight and consequence. Back inside, Lily's birthday had transformed from a day of carefree celebration into a lesson in courage, vigilance, and the unexpected heroism of one incredible dog. What happened next would echo far beyond the backyard fence, capturing hearts and headlines alike. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the quiet suburban street as the bomb squad prepared their next move. Every officer on the scene moved with practiced precision, fully aware that a single mistake could lead to catastrophe. The neighborhood, once filled with birthday cheer, had transformed into a controlled zone of tension and urgency. Officer Ray Navarro stood beside Max, who sat patiently but alert, as if understanding the weight of the moment. Max's keen nose had uncovered the hidden danger. Now it was up to the experts to neutralize it. The dog's steady presence was a source of calm in a sea of nerves. Nearby, the Thompson family huddled inside their home, watching anxiously through the windows. Lily clutched her mother's hand tightly, her eyes wide as she tried to grasp what was happening. Sarah and Tom exchanged worried glances, but remained composed, determined to shield their daughter from fear. The bomb disposal robot, a small mechanical spider armed with cameras and tools, was slowly maneuvered toward the suspicious package. Its cameras sent live video feeds back to the technicians, who studied every detail with intense focus. Then the grim reality became clear. Inside the bright wrapping paper lay a homemade explosive device, wires tangled around a metal container, a pressure trigger rigged to detonate if disturbed. It was crude but deadly. The bomb squad's lead technician, Specialist Martinez, radioed to command, his voice steady but grave. Confirmed explosive device. No time to waste. Begin disarming protocol. Around the block, neighbors watched silently from their porches. The festive afternoon now a distant memory. Cameras from news crews were set up along the street, their lenses trained on the unfolding drama. The story of a birthday party turned bomb threat was already making waves on social media, though no official statement had been released yet. Back inside, Sarah tried to comfort Lily, whispering softly, "You're safe now, sweetie. The police and Max are taking care of everything." Lily nodded, but her small hands trembled. This birthday had become unlike any other, one filled with fear, courage, and the mysterious heroism of a dog she barely knew. Outside, the bomb squad moved carefully. Specialist Martinez deployed a robotic arm to gently cut away the wrapping paper and expose the device. The crowd, officers, neighbors, even some journalists, held their breath as the team worked. Minutes stretched, heavy with anticipation, until Martinez finally radioed, "Device secured, disarming in progress." The tension in the air was almost unbearable as the technicians carefully disabled the trigger and removed the wires. The possibility of detonation lingered like a shadow, but the team's skill prevailed. Slowly but surely the danger was neutralized. Ray allowed himself a small sigh of relief. Max wagged his tail lightly, sensing the shift in mood. The dog's instincts had been right, and thanks to his alertness, disaster had been averted. With the device safely removed, the officers moved it to a secure location for further investigation. Yet the question remained, who had sent this deadly gift, and why? The FBI quickly arrived on the scene, their agents stepping in to gather evidence and interview witnesses. Ray briefed the lead investigator, explaining Max's role and the timeline of events. The entire neighborhood was now a crime scene, its tranquility shattered. Sarah and Tom watched from their living room, exhausted but grateful. The nightmare had passed, but its echoes would linger. Their daughter's birthday, meant to be a day of joy, had become a headline gripping the nation. As night fell, local news anchors reported the incident live, praising Max as the hero who sniffed out the bomb and saved lives. The hashtag #ShatiGyu_MiracleDog trended online, with people sharing messages of gratitude and awe. For the Thompsons, the day had transformed from celebration to survival. Yet amidst the fear and uncertainty, one thing was clear. Without Max's keen senses and Ray's quick response, the outcome could have been devastating. The investigation into the mysterious sender had just begun, but the nation had already found a new hero in a four-legged protector who turned an ordinary birthday into a story of hope. The night had fallen, but the Thompson household remained awake, bathed in the soft glow of the living room lamp. The birthday cake had been packed away, and the once bustling backyard was now empty and quiet, save for the distant flashing of police cars and news vans outside. Lily lay curled up on the couch, clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit, her young mind struggling to understand the day's chaos. Her usually bright eyes were heavy with exhaustion and fear, but also a flicker of awe. At Max, the heroic dog who had saved her life, and at the strangers in uniforms who had kept her safe. Sarah sat beside her daughter, brushing gentle fingers through Lily's hair. "You're so brave, sweetie," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Tomorrow will be better. We'll make it better." Tom leaned against the wall nearby, running a hand through his hair, the weight of the day pressing down on him. He exchanged a glance with Sarah, both of them sharing the unspoken question: who could have done this and why? Meanwhile, across town, a dark room buzzed with activity. On a large screen, a map of the neighborhood flickered alongside security camera footage from the Thompson home. Several shadowy figures gathered around a table, their faces obscured by shadows and dim lighting. A deep voice, rough and clipped, broke the silence. "The bomb was discovered, but the plan still works. The message will spread." Another figure nodded slowly. "It's just the beginning. We have eyes everywhere. This neighborhood was the perfect stage." Back at the Thompson home, Ray Navarro was wrapping up his debriefing with the FBI. The agents had asked countless questions, reviewed footage and collected evidence, but so far the trail was cold. Ray shook his head quietly. No fingerprints, no surveillance footage of anyone approaching the package. Whoever did this was careful. Agent Ramirez, the lead investigator, leaned forward. This wasn't random. Someone targeted that party. They wanted fear to ripple through this community. Ray's gaze drifted to Max, who rested quietly in his kennel, eyes half closed but alert. "Max's nose saved us today," he said softly. "Without him, this could have been a disaster." The story had already made national headlines by morning, with reporters praising the quick thinking of the police and the remarkable instincts of a four-legged hero. Social media buzzed with tributes to Max, the dog who turned a birthday into a national story of survival. Yet amid the praise, the Thompsons struggled with the aftershocks. Invitations to speak on TV shows and write statements poured in, but Sarah and Tom knew their priority was helping Lily heal. That afternoon, the local police organized a community meeting at the neighborhood center. Residents packed the room, eager to voice concerns, share their fears and find comfort in solidarity. Ray stood before the crowd, flanked by local officers and community leaders. "We understand this event has shaken you all," he began, his voice steady and reassuring. "But we're here to keep you safe. We're increasing patrols, setting up surveillance, and working closely with federal agencies to find those responsible." A hand shot up in the audience. "How could someone do this? Why pick a birthday party?" Ray sighed. "Sometimes terror is designed to be unpredictable and ruthless. That's why we must remain vigilant. Together, we can protect our community." The meeting ended with a sense of cautious hope. Neighbors exchanged phone numbers, promised to watch out for one another, and vowed to rebuild the sense of security that had been shattered. Later that evening, Sarah found herself alone in the backyard. She looked up at the stars twinkling above, tears slipping down her cheeks. The day that was meant to celebrate life and joy had been shadowed by danger and fear. But as she thought of Max, the dog who had smelled the danger before anyone else, she felt a spark of resilience. This was more than a birthday story. It was a story of courage, community, and a reminder that even in the darkest moments, heroes come in all shapes and sizes. The investigation was no longer just a neighborhood concern. It had become a top priority for federal agencies. In the days following the discovery of the explosive device, the FBI and local law enforcement pooled their resources, combing through every clue with relentless determination. Ray Navarro found himself working long hours, driven by a deep sense of responsibility, not only for the Thompsons but for the entire community that now looked to him for answers. Max remained by his side, his sharp instincts a constant source of reassurance. Inside the police precinct, the atmosphere was electric with urgency. Walls were covered with maps, photographs, and notes pinned with red strings tracing possible connections. Every lead, no matter how small, was chased down. Agent Ramirez, the FBI lead, convened a daily briefing. "We believe this attack is part of a larger plan," she explained to Ray and the team. "The perpetrators want to send a message of fear. We're looking at domestic extremists with sophisticated networks." Ray felt the weight of those words. This was no ordinary crime. The carefully concealed bomb, the timing during a child's birthday, and the calculated effort to avoid detection all pointed to someone who wanted maximum impact with minimal exposure. Meanwhile, the Thompson family tried to return to some semblance of normal life. Lily's laughter was returning, slowly but surely, though shadows still lingered in her eyes. Sarah and Tom balanced comforting their daughter with cooperating fully with investigators. One afternoon, Ray stopped by the Thompson home to check on them. Lily greeted him with a shy smile, holding a small paper crown she'd made in school. "Hi, Max," she chirped, running to the dog who wagged his tail happily. Sarah smiled warmly. "Thank you, Ray, for everything. We don't know how to repay you." Ray shook his head. "No thanks needed. Max and I are just doing our job." As Ray prepared to leave, his phone buzzed. It was Agent Ramirez with a new update. "We've identified a suspect," she said quickly. "A known member of a radical group that's been active in the region. Surveillance footage caught someone near the Thompson house days before the party. We're moving in." The news sent a ripple through the precinct. The suspect was a young man with a history of anti-government activities, known for using intimidation tactics. But this was the first time he had escalated to such a dangerous act. Ray's pulse quickened. "Do we have enough evidence for an arrest?" Ramirez replied, "We're coordinating a raid tonight. We want to catch him before he can strike again." That evening, the streets grew quiet as officers assembled for the operation. Ray loaded Max into the cruiser, his mind focused and sharp. He knew the risks, but also the importance of stopping the threat. The team approached the suspect's apartment carefully, breaking in with precision. Inside, they found weapons, explosives materials, and a trove of documents outlining plans for further attacks. Plans that targeted not only neighborhoods, but also public events and government facilities. The arrest was a breakthrough, but the investigation was far from over. The network behind the suspect was larger and more complex than anyone had imagined. Back at the station, Ray sat with Max, exhausted but determined. "We stopped one, but there may be more," he said quietly. Max rested his head on Ray's knee, as if sharing the weight of the responsibility. Meanwhile, news of the arrest brought relief to the community. The Thompsons received messages of support from neighbors and strangers alike. Lily's birthday story, once a tale of fear, was now becoming one of resilience and justice. But Ray knew the path ahead would be long. The shadows behind the celebration were still there, lurking, and Max's nose might be needed again sooner than anyone hoped. The arrest sent shockwaves not only through the neighborhood, but across the country. News outlets ran 24-hour coverage, dissecting every detail of the plot and the miraculous role played by Max, the K9 who sniffed out the hidden threat. The story became a symbol of vigilance and hope in uncertain times. In Washington, officials held a press conference praising law enforcement and Max's keen instincts. This incident reminds us that even the smallest acts of vigilance can prevent tragedy, a senior official declared, holding up a photo of Max as if the dog were a national hero. Back in the quiet suburb, the Thompsons tried to reclaim some peace. Lily returned to school, cautiously optimistic but still carrying the weight of the event. Sarah and Tom worked to rebuild their lives, determined to turn the nightmare into a narrative of strength. But even as the community began healing, the investigation continued to uncover deeper layers. The suspect's arrest was only the tip of the iceberg. Interrogations revealed connections to a broader extremist network with ties to several states. The FBI ramped up efforts to dismantle the cells before more attacks could occur. Ray Navarro found himself pulled into briefings and joint task forces, his role expanding beyond local law enforcement. He was praised for his partnership with Max, whose unique skills had saved countless lives. The bond between man and dog became a beacon of hope, and Max was invited to participate in national K9 safety demonstrations. One chilly morning, Ray visited the Thompson home again. The family greeted him warmly, and Lily handed him a drawing she'd made, a picture of Max wearing a superhero cape. Ray smiled, feeling the weight of the day's dangers lift, if only for a moment. But Ray's relief was tempered by new intelligence. The extremist group was more resilient than initially thought. Despite the arrests, whispers of plans for retaliation circulated quietly. One evening, as Ray and Max patrolled a community event designed to promote safety and unity, a familiar unease settled over him. The crowd was large, the atmosphere festive, but threats often hid in plain sight. Suddenly Max stiffened, his nose twitching as he picked up an unfamiliar scent. Ray tightened his grip on the leash, alert to any sign of danger. The dog moved. Cautiously through the crowd, eyes scanning, instincts razor-sharp. Ray followed silently, heart pounding. The tension grew until Max stopped near a backpack left unattended beside a bench. His growl was low, but unmistakable. Officers quickly secured the area, evacuating nearby attendees with calm efficiency. The bomb squad arrived, and once again the crowd held its breath. Fortunately, this time the backpack contained only innocuous items, but the scare was enough to remind everyone that vigilance was far from over. In the days that followed, Ray reflected on how the simple act of a birthday party had unveiled a hidden threat much larger than anyone expected. It was a reminder that heroes often come in unexpected forms, like a dog with an unerring nose and a man who trusted his partner. Implicitly, Max was more than a police dog. He was a symbol of resilience, courage, and the power of community. For the Thompsons, for Ray, and for countless others, the events of that day had forever changed the meaning of safety and celebration. And as the nation moved forward, one truth remained clear: vigilance, partnership, and hope could light the darkest of paths. Months had passed since the frightening birthday party that became a national headline. The neighborhood around the Thompson home was slowly returning to its peaceful rhythm, though the memory of that day lingered in the hearts and minds of everyone involved. Lily was growing stronger, her laughter returning with the innocence of a child reclaiming her world. Sarah and Tom worked tirelessly to provide a safe, loving environment for their daughter, determined to turn the nightmare into a story of hope and resilience. Max, now a local celebrity, continued his duties alongside Officer Ray Navarro. Their bond had only deepened through the trials they'd faced together, and their story inspired communities far beyond their small town. The Thompsons organized a special event, a community picnic to celebrate life, safety, and the strength of their neighborhood. Invitations were sent to neighbors, law enforcement officers, and even reporters who had covered the story. The day was bright and warm, filled with laughter, music, and the smell of barbecue. Children played games, families mingled, and Max was the center of attention, happily wagging his tail as he received pats and praise. Ray stood beside the picnic table, watching the scene unfold. He felt a deep sense of pride and gratitude. This celebration was not just about a birthday anymore. It was about the resilience of a community that refused to be defined by fear. Sarah approached him, holding Lily's hand. "Thank you for everything," she said softly. "You and Max saved more than just a birthday. You saved our lives." Ray smiled, crouching to greet Lily. "You're a brave little girl. Max and I are lucky to know you." As the sun began to set, a local news crew arrived to capture the event. A reporter interviewed Ray and Sarah, highlighting the importance of vigilance and community support. But beyond the headlines and cameras, there was a deeper truth. The bond between humans and animals, the courage to face danger, and the power of hope had transformed an ordinary birthday into a story remembered forever. Later that evening, as the picnic wound down, Ray walked Max along the quiet street. The stars sparkled overhead, and the world seemed calm once more. Max paused, sniffing the air, then looked up at Ray with his intelligent, steady eyes. "Ready for the next adventure?" Ray asked with a grin. Max barked softly, tail wagging. For Ray, Max, and the Thompsons, life would never be the same. They had faced fear, uncertainty, and danger, and come through stronger together. And in every celebration, every smile, every small moment of joy, the story of that birthday lived on. A reminder that even in the darkest times, heroes emerge and hope endures.